All right, looks like everything's going. So I'm gonna get started here in a little bit. First, we're gonna turn on some tunes. I'm gonna take care of a few things around here, and we will get jamming. So stay tuned. Got lots of game dev to do. Time is of the essence.
Ooze like rivers in the tree. The rising smoke is a honeymoon fragrance. The tender elves put up some resistance, but it's the hunt that makes the flavors pleasant. When they fall, we gores enjoy all of it. Exquisite music. The songs of dying elves fill us with glee. Love the crackle of the flame and steel. The juices ooze like rivers in the tree. Unknown liber fire. Unknown liber fire. Unknown liber fire. The rising smoke is honeymoon fragrance. The tender elves put up some resistance, but it's the hunt that makes the flavors pleasant. features, disjointed taste, real event, maniac. It's like his age. How does one like Panacea throw black? They're poison, they are gross, they are UK. With all this effort we pour into this, I could have nerve my shoulders, and with nerve from nerve I can't even turn. Half of their families are in full agreement. Dwarf meat, I hate it. It's grotesque, it's shotgun puke in a helmet. Disgusting, progenitor of nausea, primer inducer of ghosts. Horrendous, prime architect of vomit. Create is stirred up, threw up. Endlessly suffering, but nothing so now kill it. Very delicious, disgusting, elegant, velvet faster. Elvis to be, to velvet to be, to velvet lions, to velvet feet, to velvet things, to velvet hands, to velvet elbows, to everything but to elbows. Oh, lying so. Oh, Elvis soup, Elvis soup, to velvet ears, to velvet eyes, to velvet lies, to velvet face, to velvet things, to velvet hands, to velvet elbows, to velvet elbows, to velvet knees, to open loose. Oh, Elvis soup, Elvis soup, to open loose, to open loose. Love of the eyes, you will defeat, you will defeat, you will rejoice, you will rejoice, you will release, you will release, you will release, for you will go. Oh, Elvis. Not delicious. So bad. What does it like to myself? Tastes good. All up in our hood, blood on our lips, hooray for else's. Else's taste good, pretty tasty treat. Yo, else's taste good. By the way, you're made of our favorite thing. Our favorite thing. Else's taste good. My neighbor is delish. Now I'm having barbecue. A meat that's never burned round here. never burnt round
Twilight close, erotic aroused. Possessed their minds of too loud. Approach the demon. again. So it is done. You are the beagle speaking voice, taking up one aberration. Can you realize? Set free from that doom unto the unholy gloom of dark night, where screams decay to swallow the fear, taking supreme goddess queen of eternity love. Agility, her horrors of strangers, pleasures unturned, in sexual vastness, celestial queen of void, approach forever. Taking supreme in God's queen of the son of her, approach forever. Nightmares, are they points of spears at us? Wiped our minds blank with contempt. Cheery trust made no sense. Blood and searing heat and fire, grapes of our desires stewed in sheepskins. Breeze brightly cleansed, sped away. Fey isles cast us off. Till feral creatures burn and fray, and raping men hold on. Blood and searing heat and fire, grapes of our desires stewed in sheepskin blood. Oh, pain to Arkan souls, and the wild men rape our fleeing sisters. How vulgar! They swore they were lost, they swore we were frauds. Evil mongrels, they rid us of faith, they sent us their mongrels.
Thank you for being patient with me. I know I always take a long time getting started, and that's because I got a lot of stuff on my plate. And a lot of stuff is right here. In fact, I'm going to be sitting on the couch with her for the first part of this because she gets very upset when she's full alert and she doesn't know exactly where I'm at. In fact, she's about to walk up the couch. Let me show everybody my ass. You like my ass? I know you like my ass. How's everybody doing? Let's see here. Let me get rid of some of this text and shit. Now we're no longer starting soon. We're starting. Go fuck yourself. What's up? You're ready to do some game dev and shit? I don't know what we're doing first yet, but we'll figure it out. I like to go into these sessions kind of fresh, kind of like mentally blank. Figure out like, okay, what's currently working good? What needs work? Because realistically speaking, I mean, you can make an endless amount of things to do, right? But then you have the problem of deciding which thing to do first, right? The convenience of my setup affords me the ability to bounce over here to the couch. And that way, because I got my stuff on my big screen over here, I got a 55-inch main screen that, like, you know, this is simultaneously like my TV and my video game chill out on the couch kind of monitor. And it's plugged directly into the computer, which is at the desk. I've got two dual screens, 32 inches each, and all three of these things are plugged into the same desktop. So, you know, I got enough power. Like, I could even plug in another monitor if I really wanted to. But for my particular use case, this ends up working pretty well because I can take my keyboard now, which I've brought over from the desktop, and I can just sit here and hang out with my baby girl and look at the screen, and we're like, hey, what's up? So this is how I kick it right now anyway. I imagine in the future, not much will really change. So where do we begin? You know, what do we have working? What's the current state of the game? So what did we do yesterday? I forget. Let me think about that for a minute. Let's see. Am I a video recording? No, I'm not a video recording. I am live. I already apologized for taking too long to start. I repeat to the other person, go fuck yourself. Getting started takes a bit for many reasons, and those many reasons are right here. It's going to be real hard in the future, man. Nobody knows when any of us are going to go. Nobody knows when we're going to die. Nobody knows when our loved ones are going to die. We always think to ourselves that, you know, it's not going to happen for a long time. And you want to make sure to do everything you can to enjoy and appreciate every moment that you've got with the people that you do have. Because I've lost many people, friends and family, and it sucks. It's many people I miss every single day. It hurts, man. You know? And when this girl goes, it's going to hurt even more. And she knows it, and I know it. Now y'all know it. So if it takes me a little bit of time to get started, it's because I'm taking care of my baby girl. And if you got a problem with that, you can really go fuck yourself. There's no other way to say it. Baby girl comes first. Y'all come second. So I have to do what I have to do to take care of her so that I can get to you guys. Because I can't get to you guys without going through her first. If she don't allow it, then I don't show up. That's just how it is. But when she goes, I'm going to be on pretty much in your face all fucking day. All right? So y'all get ready for that shit. Because I'm going to get real fucking annoying with y'all. Real talk, real talk. Yeah, I see he deleted a message. Because he pussied out. That's right. I see you. You want to talk shit in my fucking chat? Come at me. I don't give a fuck. I code in C++. You think I give a fuck? No, sir. I'm doing it raw dog style. No condom. We don't need no rust. We don't need no memory safety. I mean, we kind of do, but you know what I mean. Like, it's kind of the vibe. It's kind of the edge. You know? It's like... There was a time when, growing up, C++ was really pointed to as, like, the language to learn. It was really, like... kind of what, like, every young kid who wanted to, like, get into game development was really pointed towards. In the 90s. Because that's when I grew up. I was born in 86. I'm going to be 40 next year. Means I'm fucking old. So that's another reason why it might take me a little bit of time to get started. There was a time when, you know, just being able to hop on the computer and just start jamming out was a lot easier than not, but I got aches and pains. I got full body osteoarthritis. I'm constantly popping my joints. I'm constantly doing shit. And it does take a little bit of time to like get things kind of worked out. If I move in the wrong direction, or if like a particular joint pops in the wrong way or at the wrong time, it can be kind of painful. And I don't want to show up when I'm in pain, because then you're not getting me at like my best, or like anywhere near my best. You know, like even right now, it's kind of like still, I woke up really early today. That's the only reason I'm on so early. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you know, over time, as I kind of get like my health sorted out, vaping doesn't help, that's for sure. I'll be able to like get started faster and faster. And like I said, when she goes and I kind of get over things, I'm going to be on literally all the fucking time. I'm not going to have time for anything else. I'm going to have all the time in the world. But there's a reason that we're in the position that we're in right now. And it's a series of events that have transpired over the last greater than I'm alive. This is an ongoing motion. We are all part of a cascading wave of events. You know what they say? You gotta ride the wave. Well, no, and you know what? That's fair. Not a lot of people do know anything about my backstory, and over time, I hope to teach y'all. I hope to learn y'all, to school you, to educate you as to my background, because there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of it that I don't like to focus on because it really has been something that's kept me from getting to this point. It's a lot of things that have just gotten in the way. And I feel like to like continue to focus on those things, or to like focus on them outside of the correct context, or like outside of like the correct venue, is to only continue to get in the way of progress. So I do appreciate that. But in general, I'm just a deep kind of dude. So, you know, you're going to get deep thoughts from me every so often. But the point being that, you know, I've carved out a path, I've carved my way to this point, and anyone else is totally capable of doing something similar in whatever direction it is that you choose to go. And if I can do anything to help guide people, then I'd love to. I think that's like totally on point with my brand. It's like what I'm trying to do. It's part of what I've been doing for the last 20 plus years, is like teaching people, or like helping people, or finding ways to take the things that I've learned and that I continue to learn, and then bring them to other people, so that we may all share in the benefit of the discovery of this knowledge. What knowledge is that? Programming's fucking fun. So let's have some fun. We got some shit here. What was my recent change? I moved a function update player state to a file as part of an ongoing effort to like do a general migration where we pull functions out of liblogic and libdraw into their own source files. And this should have a number of like immediate benefits over time. If I took time to like actually clean up some of these things, we might get a better sense of what the real line count is. I might have CLOOK available. No, I don't have CLOOK. I forget if that's like an actual program or if it's a I mean, we can kind of like finagle our own, I suppose. But like if we were to cat liblogic.cpp right now, pipe it into word count in order to get the number of lines, it reports back 3085, right? But this includes whitespace. This also includes comments. And tracking the proper comments is difficult when I'm interchanging like use of like star style comments. So one thing I could do to like prep this ahead is to change a lot of those comment styles to like single line style. So let's see if there's an easy way for me to do that. So if we search for a / and a asterisk, we can identify the locations, which it doesn't look like there's very many actually. So to begin with, I would delete that, and I'm going to throw in 11 comments, and then 4, and then 3. Well, let's hop down to the next one, because that was easy enough. We'll do it again for entity move a star. So this one, la la la, bop bop bop. Okay. We'll do move random next. Okay. Handled success. Attack. Okay. This is a big ass function. Probably more than 33 lines. It's more than 44, more than 55, more than 66, more than 77, more than 88. God damn. It's like about 100 lines, but damn, my fucking buddy just got COVID. So, speak of the devil, like, that's half the reason that we're in this position right now. The reason that I'm caring for my grandmother's dog, who is 15 years old and blind, is that my mom died of COVID-19 a little over 4 years ago. And for the last, well, actually, it was from that point until about a year ago, I was I was helping care for my grandmother, who had just had a stroke, and she was in significantly declined health from when I had last seen her. And for like 3.5 years, we muscled it so that she didn't have to go into a nursing home. And at the very least, we can say that she passed away with loved ones around her. Mom, I can't say the same. She died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital as she was, like basically tested positive for COVID as soon as they got her, because I don't know when she actually found out that she got it, but like it was only a 2-week period between the last phone call that I had with mom and and me getting the phone call that she was dead. So, COVID's some real shit. Not many people are dying from it, but people are dying from it. So, do what you can. Take care of yourselves. Be good to each other. And try to make it so that the last phone call that you have with your mom isn't like a fight, you know? It's okay. I appreciate that. It is what it is, and it's taken me a long time to be like really able to talk about it in a way where I'm like not bawling my fucking eyes out. In some ways, it's okay because sometimes I think about like, what if my mom hadn't gone to jail when I was a kid growing up? Would have I had still the time and focus to become a programmer today? Sometimes I think like a lot of my initial upbringing was possible because I didn't have a mom constantly like hovering over me. I can't say the same for a lot of guys. And I can't say the same for a lot of people who learn how to code in the first place as kids with parents around them, monitoring their computer usage and stuff. I was pretty fortunate in that I had like almost no adult supervision as a child, as a teenager. Like it was totally just like gung ho, like dad's gone to work and sister's off at softball camp or whatever, and I had the whole ass house to myself. I had a whole computer, I had Super Nintendo, I had N64, I had fucking PlayStation, I had lots of manga and comic books, and I had all the paper in the world and pens and pencils to draw with. What else did I need? Pantry full of food? Check. Mountain Dew on lock? Check. Ramen on lock? Check. Got all that shit. I got all the same shit now as I did back then. Ain't nothing changed. Except I'm older. I'm a lot older. As I said earlier, I'm going to be 40 next year. I don't know why, but round numbers always weird people out a bit, right? Something about like an increment to like the next digit in a lot of different contexts, it always kind of like makes people think twice about things. Like, what's the difference between $100 and $1,000? Right? What's the difference between $1 and $10? What's the difference between $1,000 and $10,000? That's kind of how I think about it. What's the difference between $90 and $100? $10, right? But just that extra digit, just that extra placement is usually enough to kind of like fuck with your head a little bit. I'll take a look at chat in a moment. I can't see it from here. I gotta bounce the window over. This is one of the benefits of like actually sitting at the computer. I actually tried to play around with a setup where it'd have like lots of crazy ass monitors everywhere, but I'm not yet in the position where I can make that happen. It is an idea though. It's not like something out of fucking like have y'all ever seen the movie Grandma's Boy? That's a fucking cult classic. That shit was stereotyping me before I ever like got deep enough into this shit to like have the confidence, you know what I mean? Like, that shit was kind of ahead of its time. Hello. My cat's decided to join us. All right, we're just finishing kind of migrating these comments to be all individual line comments, so that way we can get a very clear representation of how many lines of code are actually in this file. Because I'm not yet in a position to fully clean the whole file up, but this is a nice kind of go-between or like interim solution. I get the impression people don't really dig the AI music stuff, but I've got some good chill out tunes too. I'm more of a death metal guy when I'm like really wanting to be like high energy, but I did get into like chill out at the beginning of college through a really cool website called Soma FM. I haven't listened to them in a long time, but they're completely viewer supported. It's one of like the original radio stations that was kind of like this. I think they're out of San Francisco. But the guy who got me my first web shell, like my first Linux web shell, introduced me to them. I think we're almost done. Too far. Here we go. See, this file is fucking huge, yo. Like, shoutouts to whoever suggested I should like actually break things up into multiple files. And not that like there's really huge problems with shoving all of your code into one file or like lots of code into one file, but it does definitely make a case even in 2025 to do like a comparison of styles, right? Like imagine a function like a file with 100 functions in it versus 100 files with one function in it. You know what I mean? Big difference. Although achieves the same end in radically different ways that have pros and cons each. Maybe you could like make a case for some sort of mix between the two where you have like 25 functions and 4 files, or you have four functions and 25 files. it's questions like that like really generate discussion, because you're gonna get such a wide variety of responses. Everyone's gonna come at it with like their own perspective. Some people may even have like novel insights, and that's really kind of like where I think the heart of like true enterprise capitalism and like innovation kind of like comes out of, right? Because I've always said that like good software development is inherently anti-capitalist. And the reason being is that you don't have an infinite amount of time on this earth, but we have yet to develop a process as a species to like really create verifiably correct software. Not that Rust isn't a good step in this direction, but you can still write things that are like incredibly broken that compile and run and have bugs lurking in them for years without anyone noticing. You know, you can have poisoned compilers. Like that's a fun topic. I've always wanted to fuck with poisoning a compiler. Okay, this is a big ass fucking file, right? Over 3,000 lines. However, we're now able in a position to kind of better sift out like what the real line count is. So if there's 3,005 raw lines, right? But catting it, now we can see every line that is a comment actually begins with the comment symbol. So if we do a reverse grep where we do a check for any lines containing or beginning with // which we have to escape. In some cases, we might have some white space, in which case I think we need to use egrep. Okay, that didn't quite work. Okay, yeah, that worked. That worked actually. And then we want to get rid of any empty lines. I think, yeah, this is accurate. This looks, although, did I see? Oh, I saw stars in there. I haven't finished. Okay. So that's all code from the file. And the real line count is 760. So that's not bad. That's definitely, that's a good sign that we're making a good effort to like actually keep things clean. So for all the comments in there, those are old functions that are going to be re-implemented eventually, properly updated, vetted, so that like as I add each one of them in, I kind of have confidence that like nothing's broken. Because for what does work, works pretty well, and I don't want to make too many bad changes at a time, create like a number of headaches for myself as I'm like building this thing forward. So let's run that. Oh yeah, so we gotta. That's definitely something I gotta fix like pretty like now. Uh, we discovered at the end of last stream that there's a bug with the creation or adding of the inventory component. And I don't know yet why, but I'm going to check the chat. So YM asks, how did I start the code? I started as a kid. I don't even think there was really much documentation on BASIC. And I was really kind of like going off of, I think, maybe help menu commands or something like that. But I started on MS-DOS. I started on a non-GUI non-GUI Microsoft DOS interface in a program called QBasic. Quick Basic, I believe, is what it stood for. It definitely wasn't YouTube. YouTube would not come out for another 8 years or so. God, I could have only imagined how much time I would have wasted on YouTube as a kid. Because I grew up with actual cable television, and I watched a lot of cable. All right, we're going to do some real bug fixing. I hope you like your food with all the fixins. You come to my place, I say, too bad. All you get is garlic. This is a reverse vampire. I love garlic. Okay. Bug fix. The bug is occurring in create player. Okay, so let's observe the crash, right? Okay. Want to get a little bit of info about like where the crash is occurring exactly. Component inventory registered for entity 15. GameState.cpp line 340. $323. Yeah, Control L is one of those commands, or is that I kind of do envy like people who have working right hands for being able to input multi-key keystrokes or key combinations that require right-handed usage. I imagine hitting Control L as being kind of pleasant in a similar way that like Control A can be, or Control C, you know. Um, and even then, There is something to be desired. One thing that we could do is in libdraw start tracing things out based off of where the crash is occurring. So draw frame 2D. Okay, so here's our full draw frame command. So begin draw frame. End draw frame. So in addition to that, in liblogic, in tick, in tick. It may not even be a bug in adding the inventory. It might be a bug in something else totally different. See, prior to that, we have like all of these begin tick, end tick, begin draw frame, end draw frame. And then once I hit enter, here's the stack trace from the beginning of begin tick and liblogic. Recognizes that we're creating a player character. On 276. So that's that character creation confirmed at the top of that file, that function, or that block. I wonder if it's just the existence of the inventory. I doubt it. I totally doubt it's actually that function that's killing it. No way. Really? Holy shit. It might actually be. But why would it? Okay, so normally we would actually get a entity ID now has an inventory. Maybe it's the way that I'm doing this that's actually causing the breakage. Maybe I really need to like convert to the other style syntax. Um, ah, okay, so that didn't fix it. The syntax wasn't the problem there. Um, oh, sick. Okay, so we've actually traced it to this line of code. That's not good. Because by this point, not only do we already have a check to see if the inventory list is null or not, but there shouldn't be anything wrong with this line of code. So inventory list should be initialized at this point because it's called at like game state initialization. So not only do we have a check to make sure that it's not null, and if it is null, then we're supposed to error out and return false. But we get past that point. It's even able to successfully check that we don't have a an item for that entry in the map. So it's like, okay, so why doesn't this work? Something fucked up if we don't get to that point. But it's like it's attempting to insert even though it's like for some reason not null, but hey, it crashed again. Look at that. No, that's a curious one. Look at that. Got that shit. Oh, probably because this vector also needs to be a shared pointer. Oh, whoops. Yeah, tell me about it. It's not even the if statements that have a lot of parentheses. It's the way that I'm accessing the items in the map, or rather in the grid. Good call. I mean, good catch. Working with the STL is a lot easier if you're not dealing with pointers. I'm sure that there's some syntactic sugar that I am just overlooking in order to make this a little bit easier, and I'll probably end up pulling Aider in to help address this, which is probably a good idea. This should fix converting item container over, because I think this is actually where the bug was occurring. Aha. Ooh, it segfaulted at the beginning of begin tick. Curious. Oh, it crashed. There we are. It crashed inside of begin create new item container. Now it's a question of where. Okay, so it's crashing on making the grid rows sometimes. Yeah, that's kind of consistent-ish. Instead of reserving, one thing that we could do. Oh no, I have to use pushback here. And we could technically do the same thing here. So instead of grid of that, we'll do grid pushback. Okay. We're going for 10 runs. If I can get 10 consistent runs, I feel a little bit better that it might be solved. If I could do 100 consistent runs, I feel a lot better about it being solved. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's go over 20. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Because I was getting crashes way more frequently than that. So if I managed to run it 20 times in a row without it crashing in the same spot, I think I fixed the bug. So the problem there was that I was attempting to reserve the memory ahead of time, but I technically really don't need to do that because you could just start with the empty vector and then just push into them. Let's check that in for a moment. Now let's take a look at seeing what we can do about this god awful syntax. Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely right. No sane programmer wants to parse this. Um, okay, we're going to go with a flattened grid. A shared pointer to a vector of entity IDs. Hmm. Oh, you know what? And this actually doesn't actually remove it. There we go. Okay, what's next? Set, get, remove. Hey, there we go. Okay, probably about time for a second smoke, but fuck, that felt good. Oh yeah, lib draw. Yeah, we did begin draw frame and draw frame. Okay. So we got the rudimentary basics for inventory. Because we're gonna have to rework how equipping works at the moment. When you go to pick up a weapon, at the moment, what's happening is the item gets attached to the player's equipped weapon component. But we're gonna have to upgrade the rules for this, basically, right? Like, realistically, maybe sometimes you have like no weapons at all in your inventory and you pick up a weapon, it'll auto equip. But first, before it equips, it needs to be in your inventory because you can't equip a weapon that's not in your inventory, right? So when we go to pick up the item, we want to add it to the player's inventory first. We'll leave equipping as a separate action because this will incentivize me to like actually start making the visual inventory screen. Well, I mean, they'll say at the end of the day, all C++ is basically like preprocessor macros on crack. You know what I mean? Like, when you say handle that, I'm not sure what you mean though. Um, because we achieved what I was wanting to do to begin with simplifying things here a bit. Um, Normally, when you go to access an STL component, you can use array syntax to access it by key or location. But because everything I'm using is a shared pointer, we have to dereference it first. It means putting an asterisk in front of this thing. And we may or may not be able to get rid of that. Yeah, no, we can't get rid of that. We have to have the parentheses in order to encapsulate the order of operations. As I believe with the brackets may actually come first in the hierarchy. So by using parentheses, we enforce order of operations so that grid gets dereferenced first. And then the location pointed to by y times columns plus x, we assign that to, we assign ID to that. So one of the things that we're going to have to do is like keep track of like some moving marker to indicate like the next position to insert into. You know what I mean? We have to keep track of like an XY points to a location in, or maybe not even. Maybe we can get away with like next index, right? Like this is a set for XY, but I think we can have multiple function signatures. In other words, I can have a second set function, right? That only accepts like an index. So this way we can specify like, like if we want to like just pick up an item and add it to the inventory immediately. We can create a next index. Start it off at 0. So we can force set things as, because these are like kind of regular inventory management type functions. But let's say we want to add. And we want a generic add so that we don't really have to think about like where the next location that we're going to insert into is. Right? So if next index is less than 0, then we're going to error out. Better yet. That takes an ID and an I. And we don't necessarily want it to error out like a whole hard crash like this. There should be no case where this is true, but the next one, like next index greater than grid size, We'll see if next index is greater or equal to grid size. All right, this is fine. This is totally good. So the whole idea is this is the primitive that we need so that when you go to pick up an item, because at the moment, like I said, it's auto equipping to the player, right? Before I get too deep into anything else, I'm gonna have to take a piss, have a smoke, maybe heat up some food, start to think about lunch. Looks like it's about 1:30. So I hope y'all are ready for some more jams. I'll turn on some like chill out down tempo, and I'll leave the camera running and stuff maybe. Maybe. But yeah. Let me start with that piss break.
You are now listening to Evil Dojo Dark Mage in the house with the sick flow. You are now listening to Evil Dojo Dark Mage in the house with the sick flow. mage in the house with the sick flow.
For you everywhere. So cold, you can't even feel my stare. Why try? I can do the shit anyway. So, cash in hand, we ain't got no time to play. Oh no, no, I can't do this alone. Oh no, no, I need that evil dojo. Oh no, no, where the fuck are you, dark mage? Oh yes, baby, I need that evil dojo.
All right, so as you can see, currently got the sword equipped. If I walk over the axe and I pick it up, it actually swaps places with my currently equipped weapon. So the sword is now on the ground and the axe is in my hand. And you can see it has a completely separate overlaying animation, so that it actually indicates that indeed we have equipped something different. Unfortunately, we have not done the animation for the whip yet. And I also have to do one for like spear and a couple others. But like with a basic set like that, the sky's kind of the limit with regards to customization and stuff, because there's additional overlays that allow for like effects like fire and ice, and I kind of look forward to like implementing some of that stuff later on. We're obviously very far down the road from that point, but I think people who have been paying attention long enough kind of see the direction and the distance that I'd like to head. Yeah. Okay, so like as another example, if you equip the knife, it has a completely separate little tiny sword type deal. I think it's a dagger. Knife or dagger, one of the way. But all that code that I just moved over into that file is basically what's actually being demonstrated right here, right now. So, like, literally, try entity pickup, this function right here. When I press the semicolon key on top of an item, it calls this function. Period. Which is kind of like, oh, that's cool. It's like direct one-to-one. You know, like having that kind of level of like insight as to like how a game might function or operate, because lib logic handles game state changes, right? And ideally your game world has like a one-to-one relationship or something close to that. Like there is this like philosophy of like, I think in a lot of like different type of games where collision matters more, you integrate like a shared relationship between like an entity that's on the screen and its like position in space, if that makes sense. Whereas here, I've completely separated out the updating of the game state from the drawing of the game state. Two separate like parts of the running game loop. Like, if we start from main, go to game run. It's over in game loader. Game loader. This is the game. This is really the primary game loop. Right here. 5 functions. Input state update. Lib logic tick. Lib draw updates, right? Really all 3 of these could be wrapped into one, to be honest. I don't know why I just don't do that at the beginning of draw frame, actually. Okay, that's even cleaner. And this gets the point across like even better. So that's old, we can get rid of that. This do restart thing may or may not come back in at some point, so I'm going to leave that in there. But this really gets the whole point across. Update input, update state, draw frame. 60 frames a second. Zoom in. Blah, blah, blah. And so my perspective is like, how much stuff can happen? Like, how much stuff can we reasonably manage on screen, right? And I've done previous experiments, and with a single CPU, you can push like 8,000 plus entities easily, if not more. I've seen YouTube videos of like people doing hacks with the GPU in order to like push like millions. And it's like, damn, that's kind of fucking cool. When you realize you have that level of, whoa, as a game developer, you might say to yourself, well, what do I have the ability to do? You know, what sort of game should I make with this sort of, you know, capability? You know, what's my end goal? What's my desired result here? And I think a lot of us are fans of games like Dwarf Fortress. I think a lot of us are fans of games like NetHack. I am, anyway. I actually started a file on Sheeran the Wanderer last night, and Sheeran the Wanderer 5 to be specific. I actually have one previous save file with like literally hundreds of hours on it. I started a new file in Mandarin Chinese, even though I can barely read a word of it. Every so often, I do see a symbol that I recognize. That's practice. One of my approaches to language learning, someone was asking me earlier in chat, I don't remember if it's this stream or last, if I had any recommendations for learning Japanese or Chinese. And my answer to them in chat was to watch anime. No joke, because I was listening to anime in Japanese with the subtitles on as a teenager because I wanted to get as close to the language as I could. I wanted to learn Japanese. I liked anime. I liked video games. A lot of my favorite video games came from Japan. Therefore, as a young kid, learning Japanese was one of my big aspirations. And every so often I sit back down to it, you know, and it's cozy. It's a language I'm comfortable dipping around into and operating a little bit in. It feels almost natural to like say I probably have the Japanese capability of an elementary student or maybe middle schooler. 日本語簡単よ。まったく、この人は。毎日練習してると、勉強になれば、上手になりますよ。本当に。日本語わかりますか、人は。いますか？いませんか？言語は、 英語とドイツ語とフランス語とスペイン語とロシア語とその言語は絶対に練習していると上手になりますよ。If you practice any language, over time you'll get better at it. And what better way to practice than do things that are kind of like low effort? Things that like aren't a big deal. Listening's pretty easy. You know, one of the ways I got into German was like some of my favorite bands like KMFDM and Rammstein come out of Germany. So there you go. Like I took 3 years of German in high school. Meine Deutsch ist nicht so gut, ja. That's about all I remember how to say. But as you can see, as in comparison, my Japanese is a little bit more sharpened. It's not all that great. If you try to talk to me, I probably wouldn't understand half of what you said, but like I'm able to watch anime with the subtitles off and feel comfortable kind of like, you know, kind of getting the story for things. It's kind of like, you know, old Hispanic ladies who like to watch telenovelas in Spanish, you know. I'm like that little lady, except it was like anime and shit. God, I haven't watched anime in a fucking long time. Like nothing new. I've tried to, and it's just like I'm just not feeling the urge like I used to. I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like I'm a little bit burnt out on anime after having been watching it for like 30 plus years. Oh yeah, I just moved that stuff over. Okay, I didn't really make a lot of changes. Moved add message, and so add message and try entity pickup. Okay. One of the things I'm working towards is actually having the inventory screen come up. As I was talking about earlier, when you, at the moment, currently, when you pick up an item off the ground, you equip it immediately. So let's take a look at that code. I'm gonna take Gracie out here in a few minutes. Might even call it a day and eat some lunch or some shit. But one of the things I'm working towards is actually having the inventory screen display so that you can actually start navigating between things that you've picked up. Previously, I had this as a list, and I've decided that this is a high priority enough thing that it's something I should probably focus on actually looking not like shit, making it a little bit easier to kind of like manage your inventory. Because honestly, one of the more fun aspects of games like Monster Hunter, and to a lesser degree, maybe Diablo 2, Diablo 3, Path of Exile 2, is managing your inventory. But one of the big differences between like a game like Monster Hunter and Path of Exile 2 is that with Path of Exile 2, the items have a relative size to number of like grid cells that they occupy, representing, I guess, what Dulce would call volume. Whereas a game like Monster Hunter, every item in your grid is the same size. But they also have kind of like strict like stack number limits, like how many items, how many like each grid like cell actually represents a stack of items potentially. So it's kind of interesting how they manage that. But at the end of the day, every like visually speaking, every grid cell represents like one item or one stack of items. So we're going to aim for something kind of similar. I think at the moment, when you actually go to create an inventory, we're doing item containers at like wait, what? Oh, I never finished writing this. Oh, I guess it was cool with that. Oh, it hasn't changed. No. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. All right. So either with the I key or with the escape key, I haven't figured out which yet. But one of these two is going to activate the inventory menu. What is this code from the bottom? Is the old draw inventory menu code. We actually don't have a switch to actually pull up the inventory menu yet. But we're going to reorganize this code a little bit. So we need a way to wire up that function, right? So here's the player input code. It's pretty gross. Oh wait, no. We actually do have an I key wired up. I haven't hit it in a while. No pun intended. Okay, so that code still works. Nice. But we have no way to get out. Uh-oh. That's not good. Oh, it's not being called anywhere. Okay. Oh, I see the problem. There we go. Now we have the ability to open and close the inventory menu as many times as we want to. But we're going to turn this into, well, the left side or the right side, or maybe flippable. One of them will contain a grid that you will manage. And whenever you hover over like an item, and actually what we'll probably reposition it so that like the grid's on the bottom and the item info's on top. That way, whenever you hover over an item, it would like give you the relevant like metadata about the item. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Yeah, my neighbor's really big on a game called RimWorld. Have you heard of that one? I haven't played it myself yet, but he speaks so highly of it. And he talks about having like installed all these mods and stuff. And I'm just like, I'm super old school. I don't mod shit when I play games. I like to like really go through like a full vanilla experience before I ever think about doing anything like that. It's kind of like one of the reasons I always prefer like Call of Duty over Battlefield is that with Battlefield it just feels like I got too many options. I kind of suffer from like decision paralysis. Whereas with like Call of Duty, it's kind of like in there. You know what I mean? You just like, you get it and go. You already know. There's kind of like an established workflow. Whereas with Battlefield, it's just like, I don't even know where to fucking begin. I think that's a pretty good analogy. What's the game that you've modded? Because yeah, like I'm very well aware of like the fact that there's like established modding scenes for like Minecraft and Lua to a lesser degree, like because of Roblox, not necessarily modding, but like actually creating content. What else? There's a whole ass fucking mod store on Skyrim that I haven't even touched. It just, at a certain point, it's like, you know, maybe in certain cases there are legitimately, because like mods back in the day with like Doom, for instance, were often just like texture like swaps out. The very first mod that I ever became aware of as a kid was a mod that turned all the characters in Doom into Simpsons characters. And I remember seeing a Marge Simpson who was a cyber demon, and she would shoot frying pans at you. And I thought that was just like hilarious and awesome. And I was really like pro the idea in general, but like it's almost like in certain cases the best games that will benefit from this are almost like engineered to be modded to begin with. You know what I mean? Like you have to provide some sort of like external, and really this is almost just like good like software design in a lot of ways. Of course there's always inherent security risks with introducing mods, and that's one of the big reasons I think in terms of like being against it in a little ways, even if that makes me seem kind of paranoid. There is this kind of like idea where it's like, oh, how many mods are acceptable? What happens if mods collide with each other? What if one of them's a like evil mod? You know, like I was actually thinking about doing some like evil NeoVim type shit. Make like an evil package that's like designed to do some fucked up stuff to your system, or like run some code that it shouldn't be running, or you know. I've got ideas. But this is kind of like the ethic behind like, not to mention, I mean, just games are so deep nowadays. It's like, how much more deep do I need to make my experience? In some cases, I totally get like the utility. Like you're making Skyrim chicks with like big ass and big boobs, and like fuck yeah, I'm about it. But you know, at a certain point, how much is too much? It's like texture reskins, graphics upgrades, like that serves a real utilitarian purpose, and that's actually, I think, a viable case. But like situations where you're actually fucking with like in-game logic and attempting to like expand on a world that was already created, like, okay, so the best mod that I've ever seen was a thing for StarCraft called iCup. Are y'all familiar with that? Like the original StarCraft. So like you had regular BattleNet, right? But then you had this like off the gridish kind of tournament ladder, and it integrated like a bunch of really cool like overlays. And these overlays provided you like information about like how fast your actions per minute were. And actions per minute is a measure of like how quickly you're doing inputs on your system. So it would like actually keep track of like how quickly you were pressing buttons and be able to like report that back to you, because in a way it was kind of like a dick measuring contest, but it was also kind of like a real like measure of input speed. And it was often reported back by professional StarCraft players over in Korea. And we had a general awareness of like how fast the best players were. And it came to it that, you know, tools were built to like make the experience more enhanced on that level. And I think of that as a mod, and that's one of the best mods that I've ever seen. Another great one is actually 20XX for Super Smash Brothers Melee. I was living with people who were kind of deep in the tournament scene for a while, and that's where a lot of my initial Melee skill came from. And not like I'm any good or anything like that, but I do have 20XX on a jailbroken Wii that I could still bust out if I ever want to. Yeah, I never really played Dota. The people who like I think were really deep into Dota went on to like League of Legends, and I've only ever met like 2 people IRL who ever play that game, and they both worked at a company that I worked for, and it was like they were both like senior engineers at the place too, and it was real funny. They were always like hanging out, and it just, you know, kind of, they were like best bros. And one of them was like super beefed out and like looks like he went to the gym all the time, and the other dude looked like he did not go to the gym all the time. He was the total opposite. And the funny thing was they were together all the time, right? And like they had offices right across from each other, and when they weren't like working and shit, they were playing League of Legends. I feel like there was another one in that genre too, like Heroes of the Storm. Like there was a really big period where like MOBAs, mobile battle arena type games, really kind of popped off. I don't know if Dota and all those count as a MOBA, but it's almost like they took the micro mechanics from games like StarCraft and then made like an entire game around that. That's how I've always looked at it, and it's like, oh yeah, I get it. It's just that my clicking like accuracy is dog shit, and that's one of the reasons I never really like fuck with those games. I could barely hold my own in StarCraft. I never ever got out of Bronze League, and I actually kind of hate that. Because I put a lot of time into StarCraft. I actually tried to get good at StarCraft, and I just can't hack it. Meanwhile, Melee, though. Melee can kind of hang. or Smash in general, across all of the different varieties. I've played Melee, I played Brawl, I played 4, I played I've got current Smash. I should do some Smash streams sometime. Smash is like the only, and forgive me if I offend anyone, it's the only fighting game I really fuck with. Some people don't think it's a fighting game, but a lot of people would disagree with you. Dude, I wish I was good at Counter-Strike, man. Like, Call of Duty is the closest FPS to like Counter-Strike that I could be good at. Like, I'm good enough at, you know, Call of Duty. I can hold my own, right? Like, I've prestiged multiple times. Have had plenty of, you know, sessions where, you know, I might go on like a crazy ass kill streak and end up like top of the match. But Counter-Strike's one of those games where, like, because of my suck at the mouse, I could never like really be good at. Esports, yeah, no, dude, it's not fucking worth the time investment, honestly. Like, it's fun on a, like, you know, like I would play a few rounds of, like, back when I was like freelancing super hard, in my early days, I would play some like Black Ops, like, in between, you know, work, right? Like, you know, at the end of the day, just for like, you know, maybe a couple hours. Jesus fucking Christ, that's a lot of time. I think, you know, the couple games that I've dropped thousands of hours on have been Dance Dance Revolution, Beat Mania 2DX, Monster Hunter. Everything else is probably only in the hundreds. All right, I'm gonna take the baby out and give y'all some musics. Actually, guys, I think I'm gonna call it for right now. We're gonna eat, fuel up, relax for a little bit. And I'll probably get back on and do some gaming later. So, thanks for tuning in. We had a pretty good response and some chats. Appreciate all the support, all the love that you guys give me. If you happen to still be watching or you're watching in the future, do me a favor and hit that like button and that subscribe button. I do appreciate all of your support. Thanks again, everybody, and until next time, you know what to do. I hope you know what to do anyway. You better know what to do. Take it easy. Peace.